Anna Patricia Brosnan was born in Tralee on March 21st, 1933 to a farmer, Michael Brosnan, and his wife. Anna was born in the capital town of County Kerry in the southwest of Ireland. It is situated on the Dingle Peninsula, famed for its wild Atlantic scenery. All of the Brosnan children, 9 girls and 3 boys, were brought up in Tralee, but they were keen to explore beyond it. "15-year-old Anna left home in 1948, joining her eldest sister Helen, who had settled in the Yorkshire town of Keighley after World War II. 11 miles northwest of Bradford, Keighley had a rich seam of Irish Catholic immigration. Those fleeing the Great Famine of 1840s found work in the wool and cotton mills and factories producing machinery. Anna was employed as a playing card sorter in a Waddington's factory when she met textiles accessory maker Roman Rogulskyj. He was 6 years her senior. They shared a background of farming and Roman Catholicism, coupled with new lives in a different country. Anna and Roman were married on the 19th of February 1955 at St Anne's Church in Keighley, with Roman's father, Michaelo, as a witness. Anna was 21. The marriage lasted 18 years, ending in divorce in July 1973. There were no children. Roman swiftly wed again, remaining in Keighley with his second wife until his death in 1989. Despite her ash blonde hair and good looks and open, warm, almost childlike manner, Anna lost some of her confidence after the divorce. Known as Irish Annie in the town's pubs and cafes, she enjoyed working in Woolworths near her home on the sloping thoroughfare of Highfield Lane. Keighley was then in a sharp economic decline. Derelict mills and factories crumbled beside the River Worth, while brutal town planning swept away fine buildings, leaving boarded up terraces and lacklustre pubs. It was in one of these bars that Anna caught the eye of Geoffrey Hughes, who had recently moved into a terraced house on North Queen Street. Much later, Anna learned that he had been discharged from a psychiatric hospital with a recommendation to keep away from women for 5 years. Jeff spent more time at Anna's home than his own, taking out his unpredictable temper on her. On one occasion, he grasped her by the hair and plunged her head into a bucket of cold water. Still vulnerable after the failure of her marriage, she remained in the relationship. Two incidents in early summer of 1975 further convinced Anna to stick with Jeff. Walking through the town hall square one afternoon, she was approached by a man near the cenotaph who pestered her to have a cup of tea with him. Anna refused and quickened her step. He stayed close behind as she crossed the road and was a short distance away when she reached Highfield Lane. Resisting the urge to run home, Anna took different routes until she managed to shake him off. But he appeared again a few weeks later in Wilde's coffee bar where she used to work and sat down opposite her. Anna recalled that he had racing eyes and dainty hands, thick dark hair and a springy beard. She declined his offer of a drink and grew angry at his persistence. It was only when she warned him that the whole cafe would know what a creep he was unless he left her alone that he finally walked out.
The slim, attractive blonde in her early 30s had been divorced from her Ukrainian husband for 2 years. On the night of July 4th, 1975, she and her boyfriend, Jeff Hughes, whom she expected to marry soon, had had a fight. Still angry, she had left him to go out drinking with friends at a club in Bradford.
A few weeks later, on the night of July the 4th, Peter Sutcliffe had driven alone to the centre of Keighley. Shortly afterwards, in one of his more generous moods, Jeff presented Anna with a coloured television. She was delighted, but their incessant rows made her claustrophobic. On Friday the 4th of July 1975, Anna told Jeff she wanted to go out alone. His temper snapped and she ran crying into another room. He collected every pair of shoes she owned and hid them before leaving the house himself. It didn't take Anna long to find her footwear, jumbled together under a kitchen table. Still weeping, she pulled on a pair of green slingbacks and reached for her handbag, then stepped out into the warm evening air. Intending to visit her sister, Anna stopped at a telephone box to let Jeff know that she had outwitted him, but there was no reply from his home. Helen was not in either, so Anna headed for the bar of the Victoria Hotel. After a couple of drinks, she caught the bus to Bradford, making her way to Bibby's, a lively West Indian club on Cornwall Terrace. She spent the evening with a couple of friends, telling them her troubles. They gave her a lift back to Keighley at midnight.
Her 2 Jamaican friends dropped her outside of her home at 1 a.m., where she expected to find her boyfriend. He wasn't there.
When Anna let herself into the house, she realised that Jeff had moved out. Feeling maudlin, she switched on the record player, singing along to her favourite Elvis Presley song, Crying in the Chapel, as she folded bedsheets out and left them out to dry. She then saw that Dum Dum, her adored stray kitten, was missing. Convinced that Jeff had taken him, she grabbed her handbag again. It was a 10-minute walk from Highfield Lane to North Queen Street. Anna cut through onto Mornington Street, crossed the main road and headed into Alice Street. The Old Ritz Cinema loomed on her right. North Queen Street was a row of mostly derelict houses with the odd ginnel. Preparing for a confrontation with Jeff, Anna was startled when a man's voice called out to her from a doorway, asking if she fancied it.
Her earlier anger with him soon resurfaced, and she decided to walk across town to his house to finally sort things out. As she fruitlessly banged upon the door, Peter Sutcliffe stood in the shadows, watching.
"Not on your life," she retorted, and hurried towards Jeff's home, where she banged her fist repeatedly on the door, waking an elderly neighbour. Frustrated, Anna pulled off a shoe and struck the front room window. The glass shattered. She put her shoe back on and walked away. It was 1:30 a.m.
Finally, in frustration, she removed one of her shoes and broke the glass of a downstairs window. As she knelt to put her shoe back on, Peter quickly emerged from the shadows and struck her a savage blow to her head.
A wide alleyway ran between the end of the terrace and the back of the cinema. As Anne passed it, the man who had propositioned her before emerged from the shadows, asking her to have sex with him. This time she emphasised her refusal with an elbow to his ribs. A few more steps would have brought her to the open stretch of Alice Street, but Anna didn't make it.
Anna had not seen or heard anything and was unconscious as he dealt her another 2 blows with his hammer. Peter paused momentarily to catch his breath as the blood from Anna's wounds seeped across the cobblestones.
An unendurable pain burst into her skull and the world slipped into darkness. Peter Sutcliffe allowed Anna Rogulskyj to walk a few more paces before he attacked her with a ball-peen hammer, hitting her 3 times on the head. Once she was on the ground, he raised her blouse and slashed her across her abdomen. He was about to stab her in the stomach when a man living in Lord Street, disturbed by the noise, called out and asked what was happening, causing Sutcliffe to flee, leaving his victim alive.
He lifted her skirt and pulled down her underpants. As he returned the hammer to his pocket and took out a knife, his anger, under control until now, found expression with each slashing cut across her stomach.
At 2:20 a.m, a youth taking a shortcut through the alley found Anna lying unconscious, face upwards in a pool of blood. Her clothing had been disturbed and the green slingbacks lay on a short distance away from her untouched handbag.
The voice of a concerned neighbor, disturbed by the noise, quickly quelled the frenzied outpouring of Peter's rage. As the neighbor stood peering out into the alley, trying to focus in the poor light, Peter Sutcliffe pulled himself together and spoke calmly as he reassured the man that all was well and to go back inside, which he did.
She was rushed to the casualty department at Airedale Hospital and was then transferred to Leeds General Infirmary, where she survived a 12-hour operation which included the removal of splinters of bone from her brain during a 12-hour operation at Leeds General Infirmary.
Peter straightened Anna's clothing and was gone as quickly as he had come. After Peter returned home to his sleeping wife to continue his life as usual, Anna was found and rushed to the casualty department of Airedale Hospital. From there, she was transferred to Leeds General Infirmary for an emergency operation that lasted 12 hours.
Although given the last rites, within hours she was recovering on a ward, head swathed in heavy bandages and a steel plate in her skull. Not surprisingly, she was psychologically traumatised by the attack. She later said, "I've been afraid to go out much because I feel people are staring and pointing at me. The whole thing is making my life a misery. I sometimes wish I had died in the attack."
At one point, she was read the last rites. Miraculously, she survived, but, unlike Peter, her life would never be the same after that night.
Forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Green of St James University Hospital examined Anna's injuries. He found 3 crescent-shaped lacerations to her skull and fractures caused by a heavy object. There was defensive bruising to her hands and right forearm and peculiar marks on her abdomen. A graze about 7 inches long with 6 or 7 deep scratches above it inflicted by her attacker before he had pulled her blouse back into position. There was no evidence of sexual interference.
She returned to her home where she would live alone with her 5 cats, barricaded behind a network of wires and alarms. She's terrified of strangers and rarely goes out. When she does, she walks in the middle of the street, and she's afraid of the shadows and terrified of people approaching her from behind. There's no boyfriend now, and no prospects of marriage. The £15,000 she received from the Criminal Compensation Board cannot buy back her life. She wishes that she had died that night.
Woman in hospital after alley attack, read Monday's report in the Yorkshire Post. Policewomen were waiting at the bedside of an injured woman in Leeds General Infirmary at the weekend. Mrs. Anna Patricia Rogulskyj has regained consciousness but is still very ill, and the policewoman will remain at her bedside until she can give an account of what happened. West Yorkshire Detective Superintendent Peter Perry headed the investigation, but there were few lines of inquiry. Anna was unable to remember anything after breaking the window, but was convinced that her attacker was local. Both Jeff and the youth who found her were questioned and eliminated from the inquiry.
The police were mystified by the attack, which appeared to have no motive. No money was stolen, and it had not been a sexual attack. Her boyfriend and all of her friends had been cleared, apart from a vague description given by the neighbor of a man in his late 20s or early 30s, about 5'8", and wearing a check sports coat.
Jeff's neighbour told detectives that Anna had broken the window between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m, and he had seen a man in his 20s or 30s, about 5 feet 8 inches tall, and wearing a check jacket around the time of the attack, but this information led nowhere. Anna's relationship with Jeff was over. Men would not feature in her life again, except for trusted friends and family and those who could be admired from a safe distance. In her home, Anna displayed photographs of actor David Soul and BBC North television presenter Khalid Aziz, alongside religious imagery. Having always taken pride in her appearance, Anna was distressed when her hair grew back steel grey. She stopped visiting her regular salon when a stylist was unable to hide her shock at the injuries to her skull. Leaving home became a challenge in itself. Anna kept to the edge of the pavement, panicking if anyone walked behind her. She fought hard not to lose sight of the woman she had once been before the attack. Statements by Peter Sutcliffe. Yes, that was me. She had a funny name and I asked her if she fancied it. She said, "Not on your life," and went to try and get into the house. When she came back, I tapped her up again and she elbowed me. I followed her and hit her with the hammer and she fell down. I intended to kill her, but I was disturbed. I was certain she was a prostitute. Scum. I was being given instructions on what was the best moment to attack. I waited until she turned to walk back home. Then I hit her on the back of the head with the hammer. I knew that was the safest. I knew she wouldn't see me. It was all over in less than 10 seconds. I didn't mean her to suffer. I meant her to die.